I need to feel something. I reread the entire Harry Potter series this year. Great BBL. This was the definition of a great grand old time. Hear me out. I'm not into ASMR, but I'm into that. There's some things out there in this world that feel like they were made for you, and this book is one of those. I've thought about this book every day since then. The book I created this category for. If I can make a fictional man real, I don't know what's going on with me this year. Hi guys, and welcome back to the most exciting video of the year. I always look forward to this just because the tiers are so fun to make, and it's so fun to sort the books into them, and also it is so fun to look back on everything I read this year. Without further ado, let's get into my 2025 tier ranking video. I think I'm at 85 books. I do plan on finishing one more, so if I do finish that, I'll just tack it on at the end, but we will see. Let's do it. Okay, let's go through the tiers. So on the bottom we have why did I do this to myself? Because why did I do that to myself? Just books that I'm like, why did I put myself through that? Books that nothing positive came out of. The only feelings towards them I have are negative. So yeah, why did I do that to myself? Yikes. These are just, I mean, yikes. There was a lot wrong with the books, or that I didn't click with. Just books that I really did not enjoy, but like were slightly better and less traumatizing than why did I do this to myself. Meh as frick. Mid as heck. Books that I probably never think of, books that I maybe should have DNF'd, books that just were so mid I honestly forgot I read them and have not thought of them since I read them. Enjoyable but not memorable. I enjoyed them while I was reading them, but I do not ever really think of them, and nothing really stuck with me. No characters, no plot, just didn't stick with me. A great grand old time. These were books I really enjoyed and that have stuck with me, but not that much. Like, I don't think about these that frequently, but they were still good and a great grand old time. Top reads of the year. These are some of my favorite books I think about frequently, like the 4 to 4.5 star reads, books that I really enjoyed but weren't quite all-time favorites, but maybe there could be some 5 stars in here, I don't know. And then life altering. These are the 5-6 star books that have stuck with me, that I think of very frequently, that I will not shut up about, that cross my mind almost daily. Let's get into it. Honestly, I feel like I reread a lot of books this year. Starting the year off with a reread, Miss Abby Jimenez's Just for the Summer. This is going straight up to life altering because that's what it was. That's why I reread it, because I loved it so much the first time. Abby Jimenez's characters are just always ones that stick with me and ones that I love so much, and she always has a great mix of plot and like other stuff going on than just the romance, and her books are always also super funny. She is probably my favorite romance author, definitely life altering. And then we have Winter by Marissa Meyer. So this is the 5th book in the Lunar Chronicles series, and so this is just a bunch of like sci-fi princess retellings. So this one, it's the 5th book in the series, so we got all of the other characters' perspectives, but the new one added was, I think, Snow White. And I really liked this book, and it was a great conclusion to the series because we got all of the other characters' perspectives, and just the plot was super intense and so much was going on. I think I originally gave this 5 when I read it, but I really haven't thought about it since. But I did read it literally the first couple days in January. I finished it. It's still definitely top of the year, because when I think back on that series, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love those characters so much, and it was just written so well and so unique. I loved it. I definitely want to read more of her in the new year, and I just love like a final book in the series that like lives up to the hype. All the characters come together, every story wraps up perfectly, the plot goes good, so I loved that. The Great Gods. This was like a Christmassy book, just like a dog-centered book, and it was fine. I'm gonna put it in enjoyable but not memorable. I had a good time reading this because it's written from the dog's perspective, and I love dogs obviously, so I really liked that and thought that was fun. But I really have not thought about this since I couldn't even probably tell you anything about it, but I did remember really liking it, so I don't want to put it in meh, basically. When the Moon Hatched. I'm gonna put this in, I think, great grand old time. I think I gave it 4 when I finished it. This was my friends and I's book club. This was our first ever book, which honestly good for us for finishing this and starting book club with a chunky ass book like this. I really liked this one. Honestly though, the first like 30% I could not lock in. I could not get into that or like understand what was going on, but once we got past that point I really got into the story, and I love dragons. I really do. So I am really excited about the second one, and just reading this and talking about it with my friends was a great memory, and it really helped me understand the story better. So that is why it's gone in here, because I was confused a lot, but I also really enjoyed it, and I feel like it was kind of just a slow start of it. I feel like this is a lot of people's favorite book, but sometimes when books feel too much like a fever dream, it trips me up, and that was kind of this a little bit. It felt like a weird fever dream a little bit, and I also just could not get sucked into the story. I think I listened, Kindle read it, and physically read it, and I could not get into the story. Like, I just was always spacing out or getting distracted. I can see why people like it, but to me it just felt actually so boring. But yeah, I really wanted to love it because obviously I rated Winter super highly and really liked that series, but this one just, it was not for me. I don't know, maybe it's because it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and I was never really into that as a kid, so maybe that's part of it. I think I ended up like skimming the end too because I just didn't really care. Honestly, I feel like this year I kind of started to not enjoy romance books as much, so I do think we're gonna do a big unhaul hopefully in the new year, maybe for the reset. But this one, I just, like, it was fine. I have not thought about this once since, honestly, and when seeing it here I was like, oh, I read that. I do like Sarah Adams' writing though. Her books are very easy to get through, and I liked this one because it is, again, the third in the series, so you already know the town and the characters, and this town is like a small town. I can't remember the trope even, but I just remember thinking it was fine. But I feel like her books are like clean, closed door, but I think this one got more not of that, so it was kind of different from her other books, but it was fine. I, again, haven't thought about it since, but I think I liked it. This was another reread. This was the year of the rereads, honestly, and I am not mad about that. Obviously, this is going in top. I feel like I should do like a separate one for rereads. Should I do that? I think I might do that. Life altering 2, but rereads. I like that. I like that. Because like we already been knowing these are life altering, you know, and like I kind of want to see visually all the non-rereads I had that altered my life. So obviously Akimoff. I did not read the first one. I just went straight into this. I was like, I need to feel something. So I did. I listened to the dramatized audiobook. It was great. No notes. This is a good one. This is a good one. Okay, the first conflict, the first conflict. I'm kind of between these two. I think I might keep it in here though. I don't really know why, but I might. Oh wait, why are all the book club books in here? This was again a book club book. I really liked this one because for some reason I love a military romance. Don't really know where that's coming from, but I really enjoyed it. And I really liked this one because I'm starting to not really like just a silly romance like this. I need more depth and like plot going on, and this, there was so much going on just with the family, whatever. So I really liked that. I liked the ending of this. There were some things about it that I was a little like, why are we going about this way? But in the end, it turned out to be such a beautiful story. I also think I'm starting to really enjoy kids in books, which is, I don't know what's going on with me this year, honestly, but there was also kids in this book and I really liked them and felt like they added a lot to the story. So yeah, this was definitely a great grand old time, except for the fact when I was crying. Never lie. Okay, I don't really remember much about this, but I think the ending kind of tripped me up. Like, I didn't love it, but I do remember loving the story of this book because you got two different timelines. The one was this like therapist, and it was, her office was like in her house, so you got flashbacks to those sessions, and then you also got the timeline of this couple who was in her house and they were like snowed into it, and it was like creepy. But honestly, I really liked this and I did not know what the hell was going on behind the scenes, so that was good. I love being caught off guard. This was again very fast paced and it was all very different, and I really liked the two timelines because I just love when, like, in one perspective they'll like find something out and then you'll get like the meaning behind it in the next timeline. I love when books are set up like that, so this was a great grand old time, if I do say so myself. I'm gonna put Finley in enjoyable but not memorable. This is the 5th book in the Finlay Donovan series, and I have really enjoyed this series, but honestly it's starting to get to the point where it's like really drug out and like stuff just keeps happening that like doesn't have to happen. I don't remember anything about this book, but this series is always one that I do fly through and enjoy the books of, and I do really love these characters, so I'm sure I enjoyed it, but I remember nothing about it. Honestly, the perfect example for this category. Oh my god. The book I created this category for. No notes, just what the fuck. Okay, the only thing that made me finish this book and not throw it was the dramatized audiobook. It was my first one, so I think I was more so like curious about like what the heck am I listening to, like this is fun. And also when listening to that, it made it shorter. The real audiobook was however long and the dramatized one was a little shorter, so like it wasn't as long of pain and suffering. I didn't know which twin was what this entire book. I did not like a single thing about this book, and it was weird as heck. And like, why are we romanticizing bullying? So this is the definition of this category. I wish I could erase this book from my memory and not read it. Everyone always is like, it gets better, it gets better. No, I don't believe you, I'm sorry. So I will not be continuing this series no matter what. You guys can hold me to that. And then I'm gonna do, it's not, you don't need to narrate that. And then His and Hers by Alice Feeney. This, who's gonna tell me this is becoming a movie? I don't remember really liking this book, so we're gonna put it in meh as frick, but I will watch the movie. This is one of those books like I feel like I just blacked out. Like I don't remember much about this. I remember there's a murder or something. Most of this knowledge is from watching the trailer of the movie. I mean, it's Alice Feeney, so I like her writing, but I don't remember anything about this. Like it's one of those things that if I didn't have Goodreads, I would not think I read this. I mean, if I literally cannot think of a single thing to say about this, it's probably deserves to be meh as frick. Okay, more rereads. So I reread these before Onyx Storm came out. I think I actually vlogged it. I think there's a video of that. And then Onyx Storm is in there too. And then I went to the midnight release party, which that was my favorite thing ever. I loved doing that. I'm so glad I went. I've read that book like 3 times now, which is crazy. And every time I do, I'm reassured of why I love it. And then I did get a dragon book tattoo after rereading these. So take that how you will. Iron Flame also, this was the second time I've read Iron Flame, and this time I appreciated it so much more. So yeah, I think it actually deserves to be in life altering now and not like a lower category. But so then Onyx Storm, this book was a drag, and I feel like it's so conflicting because there's honestly probably like 3 or 4 people in real life that have been reading this series and they felt the same, that it's like a drag, or I feel like people think it's super great. Personally, I thought it was a drag. Obviously it's in this category. I just feel like nothing happened, and with the ending it just felt like one big freaking circle or something, and it was a long book. So yeah, I feel like we definitely kind of lost the plot a lot, not a little bit, a lot. So I really hope that the next book in the series puts us back on track, because I freaking love this series, but this book really, it's like I don't care, you know. These 2, perfect. I think I'm actually gonna put these in top of the year. Honestly, this duology was so much fun, and I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I would, because especially in the second book it got kind of predictable, but even though I could guess what was going to be happening next, I still couldn't put the book down, and I loved these characters so much. This romance is so good. Kind of like I talked about with romance, I'm just kind of sick of it, and same with like fantasy, especially YA fantasy, and these are technically YA but they don't really feel YA, but these were great and I loved them, and they felt so different from anything I've ever read, even though they are kind of similar, but they felt different. I think it's because like the witchiness, and I love how it's a duology. I just love this book. There were a couple plot twists that really caught me off guard. There's just so many like twists in this book, and I love when there is just a bunch of different twists in books and you're caught off guard with stuff. So yeah, I really like these characters, and both these books were so much fun. I loved them. Highly recommend. Okay, this is one that I kind of want to put it in life altering for the content and like what it made me think of, but I don't think about it enough for it to be like a life altering book. So I think I'm gonna put in Great Grand Old Time. I mean, really, is there a doubt that it'd be any lower? Because it's freaking Taylor Jenkins Reid, one of the best authors ever. I really do love a book that's gonna make you think kind of about like alternate dimensions, like if you made a different choice where your life would go, and that's kind of the center of this, and I love that. And I liked how it ended too, how it's kind of open-ended. One of my favorite things I remember about this is certain side characters, like there'd be parallels in the two different lifetimes basically, and they'd say like the same exact thing, but it'd be like a couple chapters apart or like in a completely different setting, and I would be like, I love that, because there's some things that just stay the same and some people that just are the same and whatever, and some things just, I don't know, they just have to happen. So I loved that. I loved this, but I feel like it could be higher up on this, but I just don't think about it enough for it to be higher up on this. But I kind of want to put it in top of the year. No, I really don't think about it enough. Oh my god. Dude, I just want my physical copy of this book back. Literally, someone has my physical copy of this book. And it's an op, guys. It's an op. So I cannot get it back, I don't think. And I want it back so bad because I want to reread it and like tab the fuck out of this book. So I'm like, should I just buy another one? But like maybe eventually I'll get it back. I don't know, but I really want it back. But this book was the definition of life altering. I read this when it came out in March. I've thought about this book every day since then, like literally, or the movie or something about this world. I went the last oh my god, I was about to say 6-7. I went about the last 6-7 years not really thinking about the Hunger Games too frequently, but after reading this, I've thought about it every single day without a doubt. Specifically like this book, how the movie's gonna go, the parallels, what certain things mean, and just, yeah, this is the definition of life altering. I want to reread this so bad, and I am counting down the seconds to the movie. 5 Total Strangers. I'm gonna put this in meh. I don't know about this book. It was kind of weird, and the ending, it was like whatever, and it was kind of boring, I guess. It's a YA thriller about 5 total strangers, and I think they're on a flight, and then they get to the airport, and then flights are all canceled, and they all have to get home for Christmas, I think. So they all rent a car together and start driving, and like weird stuff keeps happening in the car, and obviously like there's only 5 people in the car, like there's not that many possibilities for who it is. So that's interesting, but I don't know, I just feel like I didn't really love it. It was like fine, but it was nothing crazy. That's all I have to say, and I didn't say much. And then this was another book club book, The Crash. This is kind of very similar to 5 Total Strangers, so I feel like reading these back to back, it wasn't a great decision. I'm also going to put this in meh. It was fine, but there were just parts of it that I like didn't care about. Like at the beginning, the main girl in this is pregnant, and it just went very in depth about her pregnancy and whatever in the beginning, so I was like, this is a thriller book, like I don't want this to go in any sort of direction like that. I was like, oh god, you know? I don't know. It was fine though. It got a little weird. For a Frida book, they're either like mid or they're really good. I just was reading meh ones this year apparently. Yeah, it just takes a lot for me to really enjoy a thriller too. It's just not my favorite genre. The favorites. This is going right to top of the year. When making all this end of year content this year, I've really been thinking about some of the books I read this year that are top reads of the year. And this one, and then one other one we'll get to in a bit, I've really been thinking about even more lately. So I'm like, do I want to bump it up to a 5? I don't know. But I think it's good here for now. This story was just, it kind of embodies everything I want to start reading more of in the new year, like more literary fiction with a subplot of romance and just like drama and like kind of messy characters. I just eat that up. So yeah, this was a great time. I'm so glad I read this book. This book was so fast paced, and I just loved how it was told. It was so unique because it was like an interview style, and then it would jump to Kat, our main girl's perspective on that issue or what was going on. So you're kind of like, oh, like what side is more accurate? I really enjoyed the characters, and there were so many plot twists too and things that happened that I was shook about and not at all expecting. Love that. Done and dusted. I'm gonna put this in Great Grand Old Time. I think I read this in one day. I think it was the Number Generator told me to do that and I listened and I was not disappointed. I think that was like the perfect way to read this book because it's under 300 pages and it was exactly what I was in the mood for, and it was a good time. I love a cowboy romance and I love a small town, just like in general. It doesn't have to be cowboy, and this really delivered with that. I liked the couple and I cannot wait to continue the series because they're all so short and fun times, literally the perfect summer reads. I just don't really think about this much and I don't really remember anything specific about the characters or even the trope, so that's why it's gonna go in there, but I remember absolutely loving it. Okay, this one, I'm sorry, hear me out. This book I kind of just picked up randomly and I wasn't specifically in the mood for it, so I definitely like forced myself to read it, and that always never goes well. I could not get into this at all. I don't even remember anything about it and I just did not care at all, which I definitely think I'll need to reread this eventually because this is obviously the blueprint for like YA fantasy books. Like I feel like so many books nowadays, Powerless, have taken so much inspiration from this story, so I definitely think I need to reread it when I'm actually in the mood for it, but I just was forcing myself to read it and it did not go over well for this book and I feel bad honestly. But yeah, I had to push through this book, like force myself to. It really did not hit for me and I could not get locked in and I did not care at all, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to put it in here, but mostly it's on me, not the book. Swift and Saddle, the what's it called, Rebel Blue Ranch. Again, this was fine. It was really enjoyable while I was reading it. I think I like this one less. Maybe I'll put, actually I think I'll put it in here. I enjoyed this less than Done and Dusted, but I still really enjoyed it, especially because as these interconnected series go on, you just start to get more and more connected to the characters, and so that was nice, but I just didn't care about the couple as much, and again, I don't remember anything really about it. Saving Six. Okay, this is definitely one of my favorite series to come out of last year and this year, but these two books, it follows different characters than the first two. It follows Joey and Aoife. Their story honestly felt really repetitive and drug out, which I do absolutely love them, but it just felt like we were going in circles the entire two books. But with that being said, I do love these characters so much in this world. I still really enjoyed it, but again, it just felt like we were going in circles over and over again and weren't progressing really. What's it called? GBBL. Great BBL. I'm gonna put this here, which is kind of crazy for an Emily Henry book, but I just didn't really care, honestly. Wait, I kind of like that cover better than the pink one now. All of Emily Henry's books, I can get super connected or I can not really care, and this and People We Meet I just did not really click with, and I felt like this one I was gonna absolutely love because just like the kind of Great American Dynasty vibe of that, I love the idea of that, but I just feel like a lot of it fell flat for me. I can't really put my finger on it, but honestly I probably have not thought about this book since I read it, honestly, but I did still enjoy it, but it's really nothing I think about ever. Emily Henry's, what I love about her the most is her characters she can create, but these people, I don't remember their names even, and I could name every other Emily Henry character almost, but these, I don't remember their names, unfortunately. I don't know if I just, maybe I read it when I wasn't necessarily in the mood for it, but it just came out and got released and everyone else was reading, so I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should have waited. So it's gonna go in here because I still obviously loved her writing and enjoyed it while I was reading it, but it hasn't really stuck with me, honestly, unfortunately. Oh my god, this is like the same exact situation. I'm kind of conflicted. Wait, why this year we haven't had many conflicting ones? Because normally I'm like fighting to decide what goes where, but I feel like, okay, maybe I'm evolving. I'm in between this and meh. I think this was fine. I mean, part of these points are for the cover and the inside. I think I have the Barnes edition or something. Whatever one has the cute map in it, I really like that. But enjoyable but not memorable. I mean, it was fine when I was reading it. I liked the New York setting, and there were parts of it that were cool, like the scenery and some of the things they did together. I liked the man in this, I think. That's really all I gotta say. I did like her romance writing. I read Lightlark a couple years ago and I really did not love it, but I did like her romance writing, so maybe I'll give the second Lightlark book another chance. But yeah, this was not memorable at all. Things we leave unfinished. I'm gonna put this in Great Grand Old Time simply for my boy Jameson. Oh my god, if I can make a fictional man real, him. I for some reason loved him so much. I feel like this book was a little slower for me, but I really enjoyed it. It's a historical kind of military romance, but there's also a present day setting, and I was just so much more invested in the past than the present. Like the present I did not care at all. Like I don't even think I liked the romance in the present, but the past I really liked. I for some reason loved Jameson, and I loved reading about his and his romance. I don't remember her name, but I remember his name. That says something. I did enjoy more so the plot than the romance, because our main girl in this, in the present timeline, she's finding some relative of hers' old letters, and she has to like write them into a story because she was like a famous author or something. That I really liked. Like the plot of this was amazing, but something about the romance in the present timeline I didn't love, and something about this also went kind of slow for me. It kind of dragged. There was so much in this book that I absolutely loved, so it's honestly kind of disappointing that there were also parts of it that I didn't really connect with or love, because otherwise this could have been like one of my favorite ever. So maybe I just need to reread it. But yeah, like the plot, the vibes, reveals I guess, and like how it was told were perfect, and there was so much going on. Loved that, and I will definitely be reading Rebecca Yarros's romance backlist because it's insane how she can write so many different stories. We have a DNF. This was a DNF. Oh, we are just gonna be on a roll here for this category. So we have 32 Days in May. I DNF'd this. I bought it mostly for the cover, but I did also see someone say that if you like Abby Jimenez, you would like this. I did not like this, and I really like Abby Jimenez. I just did not care at all about this. These characters, they felt so kind of off, I guess, and just the way they were going about their romance, I did not vibe with. It's not what I want to read about. Like, I don't care. Like, he was really into partying and whatnot, and I'm just like, not for me, you know? So I did DNF this. I think I got like 65% in, but I have a reading goal to catch, so if I read 60% of a book, I'm counting it as read. Also, kind of the writing style I did not like, especially I remember something about the first chapter. I did not like it, how it was told. Then we have The Tenant. I'm also putting this in yikes. It was an interesting storyline, but it felt very repetitive. Like the same thing just kept happening over and over again. Part of the reveal then kind of pissed me off. This couple takes in a tenant, and then like weird stuff keeps happening around the house, and the whole thing with that, like, it was so repetitive and boring almost. And like a thriller, I should be on the edge of my seat, not bored, you know? So this was definitely yikes, I'd say. We have The Rose Bargain. Honestly, when I was reading this, I really thought it was going to be a 5-star, and it felt very unique. Like there were a lot of similarities between this and other fantasy storylines, but it still felt very different, and the way it was done was super interesting, and I'm really excited for the second one. How it was done was so interesting. You have to bargain with the queen one of your fingers for like blue eyes or whatever, like stuff like that, that it's like, why do you care? Like, you're perfect the way you are. Like, you shouldn't be, you know, bargaining for straighter teeth or whatever the heck it was. They had like a kind of bachelorette type thing, and that was done differently than other ones I've read, so I really liked that because it felt different but still similar to other fantasy books like this. I loved it, honestly. I can't wait for the second one. There were a lot of twists and turns, and how this ended, I'm so excited to go on. A great fantasy, honestly. Like, it's borderline top of the year. The Paradise Problem. I'm gonna put this in enjoyable but not memorable. I mean, like, it was fun while I was reading it. It was fun for the summer vibes, but I have not thought about this since. And it was definitely more spicy than what I normally read and like, so that also kind of impacted it, and I really haven't thought about this since. And like I've talked about before, I'm just kind of sick of just straight romance books like this. I mean, there was some plot going on, but it was still definitely more romance focused and heavy, which kind of took over the story and the plot. But I did like the plot that was going on, but it wasn't enough. This is so out of order, but I don't feel like fixing it. This is going in life altering. This is my top book of the year. If you missed it, there's some things out there in this world that feel like they were made for you, and this book is one of those. Whether it's like a movie, a show, a song, specifically songs for me, it's like that was made for me. And that is how I feel with this book. These characters, I love them so much, and I can't even explain why, but it it feels like was written for me. All the micro tropes or like characteristics about these characters, they just all resonate so deeply with me and are all things I really care about or that have affected me. So I think that's part of why I loved it. And also just, it was so refreshing to read about Xavier and Samantha because the romance felt so different because they were long distance at first. So it was really like if he wanted to, he would. And I really liked seeing that and I love them so much. This is definitely my top read of the year. For a while I was kind of doubting if it was, but it definitely is. I can't say enough good things about this book. This is one of those books that it has stuck with me so well. You guys have literally seen it throughout this ranking. I don't remember details about these books, but this one I feel like I could recite a chapter by chapter summary, and that never happens. Like, I have the brain size of a pea. Like, it doesn't happen. So for this to have stuck with me that much, it really says a lot. How do we move on from that? Taming 7, oh my god, we're starting to get into sort of traumatizing reads. I don't think this is quite life-altering because it's so hard with this series because it's character by character, and so it's hard to individually rank them sometimes because they kind of all blur together, and stuff we learned in this book relates back to like the first books and like it's hard to pick out what happened and what. This one follows one of my favorite characters from the series and learning more about him and her too. It was terrible but also amazing because now I just want to go back and reread the series and pick up on all the Easter eggs and uncover other stuff, which I love when a book series makes me feel like that because it just signifies that the author has done a great job. And I love when stuff's going on and like you know but you don't fully know until you read their book and then you want to go back and reread them. Like, that's amazing writing in my opinion. This book was devastating. That's all I'm gonna say. I can't say anything else about this because it's the 5th book, so it's definitely very spoilery, but this book was actually brutal and I love these characters so much. It really honestly hurts me to put indie authors in the lower categories, but we are honest here. We are honest here, so we are going to do that. And part of it, honestly, nothing against this author. I really liked her writing and I will continue to support, and I love watching her TikToks and everything. I personally just think I'm over romances like this and just like straight romances in general, honestly. I mean, I'm definitely still gonna read some from like my favorite authors, but as a whole, I think I'm just definitely sick of the genre. When I read this, I was too, but this was exactly what I needed at the time I read it. I think it was set at like a beach town, the book, and I read it while I was at the lake, and this is exactly what I needed, a quick, short read that didn't take too much brain power while I was also a little mentally not fully there. So we are gonna put this in meh as fuck, which it does hurt me to do that because, again, love to support indie authors and all that, but I just didn't care that much about the characters or the story, and honestly that's mostly just because I'm sick of the genre. If you want like a short summary romance book, definitely pick this up. I enjoyed it, but I feel like also parts of it bugged me because she did have a boyfriend when she was back at her hometown, I think it was, and kind of reconnecting with a childhood friend or whatever, so that did bug me a little bit because it's like, girl, just communicate, you know what I mean? So that did bug me a little bit, but yeah. The Bright Years, this is gonna go in top read of the year. Everyone says this in their reviews of this, so I'm trying to like not, but this is a debut book, you guys, and it is under 300 pages, and this is exactly the type of book I want to read more of. So if you have any recs like this or other ones I've talked about, let me know. But it's a character-driven literary fiction, just emotional read, and that is what I love. I love to cry over books, and I just love to be so connected to characters that you want to learn so much more about them, and that is what this was. The way this was told, it was so unique, I feel like, because it was separated into I think 3 different parts, and it was each part was a perspective of one of the characters, and I loved that. It was so good. There were so many unexpected things that happened in this book too. Part of it, maybe I went into this so blind, just knowing that it follows a mother and a daughter, kind of their dynamic, and then some secrets that this family has and everything like that. Actually blew the water, what's that saying? Blew the water out of the park. I don't know. But it was so good. So easy to read, so bingeable. The Friend Zone. I'm gonna put this in. I think I'm gonna put it in here because honestly I really forgot I read this mostly. I think this was Abby's maybe her first book, I don't remember, but I still loved it. I still love her characters, and I love how it's still true Abby, like starting with her new books and then working backwards. It's still true Abby. It's still funny. There's still like dog stuff in it, and it's still just amazing characters, and I love this. But I feel like part of what made it in this category is I read the Happily Ever After playlist first. I read that last year, and then I went back and read this, and I think it would have been better if I didn't do that, because it did kind of ruin one of the big like twists or just like reveals, or I guess it kind of like spoiled too. So I definitely think it would have hit harder if I would have read them in order, but I didn't really know at the time. Can't go back, but yeah, still a great time. Just I don't really think about it honestly, but the main guy's a firefighter, so there's that. Powerless by Elsie. I'm putting this in great grand old time. It was. I love a sports romance. Oh my god, it's hockey. Guys, I'm going to a hockey game tonight. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see Jasper Jervis, and I'm gonna probably start heated rivalry after it, honestly. I love hockey. I love this book because Elsie Silver's books, they're not totally plot and romance equal, but there's still usually a decent amount of plot going on too. And in this one, I don't know, Salone in this, she was just going through a lot, and I love that because again, I just need more than just romance or fake dating in a book. And I really appreciate this book because the first two books in the Chestnut Spring series I really did not love, but this one honestly switched that for me. I ended up absolutely loving the series from this book onward, so props to this book if it could completely change my mind about a series. Definitely says something. Pumpkin spice and everything nice. Honestly, I'm putting this in great grand old time. It was. I think I just read this at the perfect time. Peak fall. Well, actually not peak fall. It probably wasn't even officially fall when I read this, but I was just so in the fall spirit in this book. It was everything I could ask for and more. Yes, it was a little cringy. Yes, the main girl annoyed me a little bit, but it was perfect. The vibes were amazing. I loved how much we got to see of them at her mom's cafe. That I loved so much because I just love a coffee shop cafe, and so reading about one in like a fall Gilmore Girls town was amazing. They do so many fall things in this book, and this book is just so atmospheric. It's definitely YA, but I was able to look past it in this one, so I loved this. Definitely pick it up in the fall. And this was the $5 Barnes Cafe pick, so this was probably the best $5 I've ever spent. The Dead Romantics. I'm gonna put this, I'm kind of between these two. I think I'm gonna put it in great grand old time though, because I really enjoyed it. There were some things that weren't amazing or perfect to me, but I can't really like pinpoint anything, but it just didn't, you know, like it hasn't really stuck with me that much. But I do really enjoy Ashley Poston's writing, and I like this one how, again, a lot of plot was going on, and there was talks about grief and other things like that. Also, there were some little twists and reveals that I really liked, which I just love a twist or a reveal. Either one, take your pick. I just don't know if ghost romances are my favorite, because in this the main love interest is a ghost. But I did like the settings in this because it starts off she works in New York, which I love New York, and then also she goes back to her small town, which that was fun too. I might put this in this one actually, because I'm kind of remembering some things. There were parts of it that definitely pissed me off a little bit. Like our main girl's kind of work ethic with some things that were going on pissed me off, because I'm just like, girl, you are on such a time crunch and you have so much to get done, which I understand you're grieving and going through a lot, but like this is stuff that like has to be done. So that was kind of pissing me off a little bit, and I feel like in the middle it definitely drug a bit, kind of because of that, because she was just like not doing anything. But other than that, it was still a good time and I did enjoy it. But yeah, I think this is a good category, and I really haven't thought about this since I read it. Reckless. I'm gonna just do these all right now actually. This was the definition of a great grand old time. I think this book just had so much character development. I can't put my finger on why I loved this so much, but I did. And I think it comes down to Theo Silva. I think it does. That type of man just like does it for me. Like the acts of service, willing to do anything for her, super protective. I loved it. I loved the trope in this book, and I loved both of our characters. They had an insane amount of character growth each, and I loved seeing that. This book was funny, it was charming, it was sweet. I probably cried, and it was perfect, honestly. And I loved seeing the other characters, and I think reading this after Powerless and getting to be so connected to the characters really made this story so much better. I loved it. As for Hopeless, it was fine. It was nothing crazy. I did like seeing how everyone's story wrapped up, but it just wasn't a favorite of mine. I can't really put my finger on it, but I think maybe the trope has to do with it. I think it was like fake marriage or something. I kind of think the main girl in this is family, or she is in one of Elsie Silver's other series, or her family is more mentioned in those. I'm not sure on that, but in this one I just wanted more background on that and her and like some things that were going on, because they were like mentioned but they weren't expanded upon. It was whatever. Fake skating. Oh my gosh. I think I'm gonna put this in enjoyable. Am I sick of fake dating? I kind of think I might be, which that used to be one of my favorite tropes, but I feel like I just think about it when I think of what I'm sick of in romance books lately. I think I'm sick of fake dating. I think I'm decided. Here we are, deciding. This book started out, I was so excited for this when I first started it. I was underlining. I do that maybe once a year with a book. Not once a year was this book, actually. It started off really good. Again, I can't really put my finger on it, but I think I just got sick of it. I think we definitely lost the plot a bit. Like, I just got bored and I just didn't care. So this was kind of second chancey. Like, they knew each other as kids, but we really didn't learn much about that. They were kind of hyped up to be these like super great friends, and then we didn't see the past of them being these super great friends or get like any flashbacks or mentions really of it. So that kind of took me out of a bit. And yeah, I think I'm just sick of fake dating, honestly. It's a YA book and it was like 500 pages though, which we did not need to be doing all that. I'm gonna put the shit. I'm between these two again. Maybe I'll keep it here. Maybe I'll put it at the, I always do this. Maybe I'll put it at the top of that. This book took me so long to get sucked into, and then even once I did get more into it, I still wasn't completely hooked. Like, there was parts of it I was really invested in and other parts I wasn't. Maybe I should put in Great Grand Old Time. I don't know. I really liked the romance in this, and I liked the god aspect. Okay, fine. Fine, literally fine, I'll move it. It just took me so long to get into and to be able to understand what was going on, and I think though I could have done better, because at the start of the book there is an index, a glossary, I don't know which one goes where, but of the gods and goddesses, and I think I should have utilized that more than I did. That's on me, obviously, but with that I just couldn't really get into it the first, honestly, half. But once I did, I was locked in, and once I understood like who was who, this book just felt super long. But with all that being said, I love a fantasy like this. Divine Rivals is one of my favorite books of all time, and so getting this vibe and just the whole soulmate fated meant to be-ness of it, I absolutely loved. And once I was able to understand better kind of who was who, what meant what, I was so locked. Did I cry? I think I cried at this. I'm set with this category, but I do remember not being able to get into it first, but once I did, I loved this book so much. I just love like a fated type romance story, and just these characters, they would do anything for each other, and they literally did, and it was so beautiful. I feel like I just was able to picture it so well throughout, honestly throughout the story. Like, I may not have known who was who, but I could picture it so well, and I really like the vibe of this book, I guess, like the gods and goddesses. I loved it. Thinking back on this, I feel like I actually remember a lot more than I thought I did, but again, it did take me a while to get to that point. Twilight. I think I'm gonna put this here. This was my first time ever reading Twilight. This was my first time. So with that, I'm 22 years old, so I was able to see all of the cringe clearly, whereas if I would have read this 10 years ago, it would have went over my head. Yeah, this was fine. Something about YA books like this that gets me every time and kind of pisses me off is when the main girl is like new to school or whatever, and literally every single guy she comes in contact with becomes obsessed with her. So that was kind of pissing me off at this. I'm just like, literally, Bella, just stop talking to guys because they're all gonna ask you to the prom and I'm gonna get annoyed with it. I don't know, that always pisses me off in YA books, because it's almost like every single YA book that I read that happens. I am really excited to continue this series and just watch the movies and become more involved with the fandom, because I think I'm really gonna like it once we get deeper into the books. This was a great way to start, and honestly, I'm so glad I did. I just think I'm going to keep it here because at this point I'm not super invested in the series, but I do think I will get to that point. I don't look back on this and be like, oh, I loved that. You know what I mean? My actual Pookies. Oh my god, the definition of a great grand old time. I was laughing this entire book. The entire book I was laughing, smiling, all the things. I love these characters so much, and right now I'm currently reading the third one, so like talking about this I'm just like I love them. I went into this thinking it's gonna be like cozy whatever, but there's actually so much plot going on and so many characters that I love to death now. I can't wait to finish the series, and I am so happy I finally read this. It may have taken me a couple years, but I am so glad I finally did, and I love it so much. Where's the second one? Yeah, this is so out of order. Whatever. One is gonna go in top read of the year because it was. I just felt so much more connected to these characters in this one, and also the plot got thicker, it got more in depth, the yearning got stronger, so it definitely deserves to be that one step up. And also in this book we started to get more perspectives than just the main guy and girl, so I really liked that because now that I was more connected to the side characters, it made it so much better. How I'm feeling about the third book too, I feel like it's probably gonna be right next to this because we're getting even more perspectives and we are even more connected to the side characters. So again, I hate to do this to these indie authors, but I don't know. This is the definition of I don't care. I just did not really care about this book at all, and I could not get connected to the characters. I did like the guy in this, but it just whatever. And I feel like we were just lacking so much background about the characters. Maybe I'll put it. I genuinely feel bad. I just feel like we were lacking so much background about these characters. There was so much talked about and kind of hyped up that they were going through, and then we didn't see any of it or get much background about it. And the main girl in this definitely pissed me off a little bit because she was very much anti-dating and very focused on school and work and all that, and I'm like, why? You know, like that was the only reason, and it didn't really make sense. I mean, like it kind of did, but also it really didn't. I think I'm gonna keep this here. And also she was low-key leading on another guy, and I was like, girl, just be honest, you know, be honest with yourself and then the guys you're leading on. Also, she, not to be a hater, I'm really sorry, I genuinely feel really bad, but I cannot wait to read Picking Days on Sundays by her. Anyway, she was just like not being truthful with those around her with multiple things, and that icked me out. We're on a great, oh my god, I just saw the next three. This one's good. This one's good, but these two. We're on a great run. This I just read a couple weeks ago. I could not get locked into this. This felt like all the types of fantasy I'm trying to avoid. I feel so sick of just like the YA. I don't know, like kind of cat and mouse game. Like he's on the rebel side and you're whatever and trying not to like each other and whatever. This was not an enjoyable read. I could not get connected to it. I did not care at all. I did have to skim. This book was so annoying. I struggled through it. I would have DNF'd it if it wouldn't have been the Advent book. This was an Advent book, so it was like open a chapter a day. And that was the most enjoyable part, ripping open the pages. That noise was beautiful. I'm not into ASMR, but I'm into that. The story was so annoying. Literally, again. Honestly, one of my least favorite micro tropes, if you could call it that. The whole main girl comes to town. Every single guy she comes in contact with is obsessed with her. That happened so much in this book. I can't stand that. And just some of the plot that was very loose term, was so annoying. The whole, I can't tell my boyfriend's sister I like her brother, whatever. It's just like, who cares? Why do I feel like this is gonna be the longest video on my channel? Okay, the Paris Notebook. I'm gonna put this... I'm kind of conflicted again. I jinxed that by saying I'm not conflicted this round. I think I'm between enjoyable and a great grand old time. I think I'm gonna keep it here because I haven't really thought about it since, but I did really enjoy this book. I love a historical fiction, and especially this one. It was very thrilling kind of too, in the sense that I was on the edge of my seat and so much was going on, and I had to keep flipping the page to figure out what was happening. There were a lot of twists and turns, and I really liked the ending of this. It was so sweet and beautiful, but I really just don't think about this, and I think it was a little slow for me to get into, but once I was into this, I was into this book, and just, wait, this is making me want to move it up. I think it's good here though, but yeah, I'd totally recommend. I hadn't seen anything about this book. I was just in an indie bookstore and I saw it and I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. So picked it up, and I'm so glad I did because it was definitely a very impactful read. And so the premise of this is our main girl, she gets hired by this doctor to help help him transcribe this journal, and the journal is basically this huge, I guess, like piece of evidence, we could say, that kind of shows that the bad guy in this time period is not fit for office. So there are people after them and trying to, you know, get it back and uncover what's going on. So very high stakes book, and very, very good too. I'm gonna put this in yikes. Literally what happened in this book, I don't know. This series is so interesting to me because the first book completely feels like a Red Queen X Hunger Games fan fiction, and I really didn't like it necessarily. And then the novella Powerful I really liked. The second book, Reckless, I also enjoyed more than the first one, but this book, it just felt like a whole lot of nothing happened, and this book was so long, and I was really excited because I wanted the second book and the novella to tie into this more, and I feel like they really didn't, and I just don't really know what even happened in this book. I don't remember, and I don't care, you know. What's this called? The Conditions of Will. This is top read of the year for sure. I love Jess's writing so much, and one of my favorite parts of this is the little Daisy Hates cameo, or it's not even a cameo, it's just like a mention. I loved that, and I just really like her writing. And again, this is the type of read I've really been in the mood for, the mostly literary fiction book but with a subplot of romance with a ton of interesting messy characters. I love that, and this delivered, and I love Jess's writing, so that made it all the while better. I don't have a specific reason why it's not life altering, but it wasn't, I guess. Check trigger warnings. There's a lot of trauma mentioned and a lot of hard to read about topics mentioned. I think maybe the one thing that kind of made it from being life altering was the romance in this. It got a little messy in the sense that another character was kind of involved. I was just like, ooh, this is a little interesting, but that's okay. Wild Dark Shore. Now I put this in top read of the year. It's kind of almost life altering, but not quite. I think the beginning took me a little bit to get into, but once I was into this book, I flew. This was incredible, and I feel like it's a Reese's book club. Reese's book club always has bangers, so I need to like follow them or something. I don't know, or join the club. Can I join the club? But this is such a unique book, unlike anything I've ever read. And again, I love a character-driven story. I love a story with so much plot, and I love a story where there is kind of reveals throughout. There'd be like a subtle reveal, and then we wouldn't get any more about it, and then a couple chapters later more would be revealed and whatever. And I love that. I love just like a mystery setting too. I love everything about this, and I was on the edge of my seat throughout this book. I'm gonna put this one in meh. I read this in like March, I think, maybe even April, and I read it because my Libby hold came due finally. Put on hold before the holiday season, but I hadn't got it then, and I still really wanted to read it because it sounds just really fun, like a Christmas crime mystery romance. But I just don't think I was in the mindset to read this because it wasn't Christmassy, obviously, but I still did because my hold came through, and I just didn't really care. I think I would have probably enjoyed it more if I read it later in the year or earlier in the year, but that's okay. It was still fun though, and I think definitely a good one for the holiday season. My friends, this is going in top read of the year. This was such a beautiful story. Frederick Bachman's writing is probably maybe my favorite ever, like my favorite author ever. I just loved all the characters this was following, and the storyline was so interesting, and I love an unlikely friendship. I love that, and that is kind of what this follows too. Unlikely friendships who meet accidentally, and then their paths, how they intertwine. It was beautiful, it was funny, it was emotional, and I just love his writing so much, how he's able to transport you into every single character in the book's perspective and do it so well. Rewind it back. I'm gonna put this in Great Grand Old Time. It kind of was a top of the year, but also just a great grand old time. It's not my favorite out of the series, but it is. Wait, I read those last year? Holy crap. Wait, is that right? Okay, that's crazy. I thought this was a great way to wrap up the series, and I loved seeing all of our characters, how their stories also wrapped up, and I loved this romance, Rio and Hallie. I loved their love for music, and just some of their moments were so sweet, and it is like a second chancey one, so I loved getting the flashbacks, and Rio is just such a golden retriever, and I loved reading about him, and this is like a sports romance series, so I loved that. And I feel like this entire series just does such a good job of balancing the romance and the plot and everything like that, and this is such a found family series, and I love found family. Oh my god, this lineup down here is insane. It's actually insane. This is going in top. I think I'm gonna go with top of the year. It's borderline life altering, but I don't know if it's quite there. Again, the epitome of what I want to kind of change my reading taste into, I guess. More books like this. This was such a beautiful story, and I love a wholesome main character, and that is the definition of Tova. She's a wholesome main character, and I loved watching her story and just watching her life change throughout this book. It was so beautiful. I think the movie I'm gonna die. I think I'm gonna die. I need to look up when that comes out, but this was such a beautiful story. I loved Marcellus, I loved the side characters, and I loved how everyone's story intertwined, because when you start out, I think there's 3 perspectives with Marcellus. I don't remember if there's more than that, but you're kind of like, what is the point of all of these, and like how are they going to entwine? Like, why are we getting a talking octopus? I actually could cry over that octopus, but I love this story. I love a wholesome story like this. I sobbed too, because it's also so just emotional, and I love that. It follows Tova, and she works at this aquarium at the nighttime, and she kind of cleans it and whatever, and Marcellus is this octopus, and they kind of strike up a friendship, which sounds absolutely ridiculous, but I promise you it's not. It is wholesome. Okay, I actually have a lot to say about this one. I have a lot to say about this one. You have been promoted, babe. You have been promoted. When I first finished this book, I gave it 4.25 or 4.5 because the ending really pissed me off, because I felt like it was way rushed, and to the point where I was genuinely confused when the book ended. After months of deliberation, I'm excited to announce that it is 5-star now. It has been promoted. I cannot get this book out of my head lately. And just looking back on it, I'm like, oh my god, that story was so beautiful. And I don't know if it's just like my reading taste changing or what. Can't believe I didn't rate it 5 stars when I finished it, but what a book. This has everything you could want in a book. There are so many beautiful themes, and there's so many just interesting characters that may not be perfect all the time, and that is what I loved about it, because it felt so real, and that is what all of Taylor Jenkins Reid books have felt like. They felt real. They felt like this was an actual NASA mission in the 80s happening, and I could like look it up, but I can't. And it's so unfortunate. And I just love a book like that, like kind of like The Favorites. It felt so real to the point where I was trying to Google their figure skating routine. That just is such a sign of incredible character building and just writing in general. If a book can make me feel like that, I love it. This romance in this book was beautiful, and Joan was relatable in so many ways of just figuring that out and like what she wants in love, and I loved watching that be depicted in this. If you somehow don't know what this is about and haven't read it this year, which please go read it, please. It is following Joan Goodwin, and she is in NASA's space program, and she is one of the first women to be in that program, maybe even the first like of their group. And so you're following them kind of get ready for this mission, and you're getting 2 timelines, the past and the present. And in the present you are following them, and then it's like a very high stakes intense situation, and then in the past you're kind of working your way up to that. So I really like that type of storytelling, because it just makes you so much more invested from the get-go. That is what I love in a book. Character driven, family drama, romance, plot, multiple timelines or multiple something. Beautiful. We are just going banger after banger right now. This is gonna go in top read of the year, The Woman. This was a top read of the year. I don't know what else I can say. This had literally everything I could ask for in a book. I love a historical, and I love Kristen Hanna's writing. She is an incredible author. Going into it, I kind of thought it would just follow our main girl Frankie during the war, like in Vietnam in the war being a nurse, but we saw the lead up of that before she was even enlisted. We saw her in the war, and we saw her after, kind of just throughout her life, and I really liked that because it did such a good job showing the effects of working as an army nurse. Obviously she saw so much shit there, and it changed her so much in how she had to adapt coming home, and it just shed so much light on the military nurses, and I loved that because, you know, they deserve recognition too. At first I was skeptical about how the percentage of the book after the war was gonna go, but it completely blew me out of the water. Is that the saying? I keep saying that. It just talked about so many deep topics and really was eye-opening to read about. Oh my god. I still haven't like rated this book, and I don't know if I can, but I think it's gonna go in life-altering. And I don't know if that's a positive way. Maybe... I still don't know. I cannot wrap my head around what I read in this book, but safe to say it has stuck with me in a traumatizing way. This was definitely the hardest book I read this year because of just the topics in this book. It was so hard to read about, but these are characters I've grown to love over the course of 6 books now. So it hit so hard because I know them, and it just, again, like I talked about with Taming 7, it just makes you reevaluate the entire book series up until this point and just make you want to go back and like really analyze these characters. This was such a hard read, but such a book that I was so invested in from the start to the end. Like, I'm so scared for the next one. It's hard to even put into words because if you haven't read it, you don't understand this series. It's just so hard to talk about. It's so triggering and traumatizing and hard to read, but it is so amazing. The perfect couple. It puts us in great grand old time. It was. This is one of my favorite type of books to read. A mystery that's not like scary, but it's just like you're trying to figure out what is actually going on. And again, rich, messy characters. Nothing can top that for me. I love it. I also liked the Nantucket setting. This was my first Ellen book too, and I fell in love with her writing style while reading this. How she can, kind of similar to Frederick Bachman, just dive into so many different characters' heads and just give you so much information about them and just the plot that way. I loved it. I'm gonna put this in enjoyable, not memorable. It was a great time. I enjoyed it. It just wasn't really anything that stuck with me. I read Carly Fortune's first book, Every Summer After. Did not love it, and so I was skeptical going into this one. Wait, no, I read the other one too, the yellow one. Yeah, I don't know. I read this to kind of give her one more chance, and I'm not like fully against not continuing her books, but I also like don't really care to. I just think they're fine. I do like this one, and I thought the way everything tied in was beautiful, but it just wasn't anything I loved, you know? Oh my god. Yep, this book is the definition of life-altering. This was crazy. This book had everything. It had comedic relief, it had emotion, it had friendships, it had not really any romance, which was interesting. I feel so connected to these characters and just so invested in their lives and the plot and the state of this world. I was just rooting so hard for the characters and for this mission, and I really liked the ending of this book, which I feel like a part of it I kind of was hoping would go in a different direction, but the way it ended was absolutely beautiful. And if you have not watched my sci-fi vlog, that kind of tells it all. I have not cried this hard since I finished the Deathly Hallows, but I loved this book so much. This and Sunrise on the Reaping, like, what do you mean we get those 2 movies in the same year? The movie theater is not gonna be ready for me. I may just have to start working there, honestly. Okay, let's actually just do these all. Where did that book go? Oh. Why do I have 2 Project Hail Marys in here? That means I'm missing a book. I have found the culprit. The missing book. I found it. Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. We're gonna ignore the second Project Hail Mary. I mean, we could put it up there twice just for shits and gigs. Let's do that actually, so that doesn't confuse me. No, actually I think that's more confusing. Well, I can't put it back down now. Oh, I can. Okay. What was I talking about? Okay, maybe I'm not talking about anything. Okay, what's next? Oh my god, this is next. Alright, let's just do these all at once. I reread the entire Harry Potter series this year. If you somehow missed it, go watch it. It's full spoiler, so. This was one of the best things I've ever decided to do. And simply because of the Deathly Hallows. Reading that book, oh my god. I have never cried that much this entire year. No, I don't think I've cried that much in the past like 3 years when I read this book. Oh my lord. I had already felt so connected to the Harry Potter series and world because I've read them multiple times as a kid and watched them many times, but rereading this and with the full brain power to understand every little thing that was going on and like picture everything so well, nothing will ever compare. This was the best decision I've ever made, was rereading this book. I loved it so much, and I love these characters, my favorite book characters ever. I can't put it into words how amazing this was, and I love this series so much, and I cannot wait to finish my watch through of the movies. I talked about this in my reading vlog, so you have to watch that, but my top ones are The Deathly Hallows #1 and Prisoner of Azkaban #2. Those are my top. The other order kind of just depends on the day. This book, I'm gonna put this in yikes. Honestly, I have never felt so indifferent towards a book. I did not care at all what happened, and it felt so long. Like, this book is actually not that long, but it felt so long, and I just did not care at all. I mean, maybe it could go in meh, but I don't even think I enjoyed it that much to put it there. I'm gonna put this book in so this is Unnatural by Mia Sheridan. The first book I gave 5 stars, which makes me kind of question that and want to reread it, but I really liked it. It's Unwanted. This is a sequel to this. Something about this book just was off to me. I did not think the romance was, it just was weird, and kind of the plot that was more so uncovered in this book than from the first book just was very messed up and very hard to read about, the things that were going on at this level, and it did not sit right with me. I don't know, it just felt really kind of icky and weird to read, so I did not love that. So I think I'm gonna put this here because honestly, like, nothing good came out of my reading experience for this book. I mean, I did finish it really quickly, but I think that's more so just because I was like, this has to turn around. Like, this messed up stuff has to stop happening. I mean, I can't say a lot of words, but this Amalfi, especially, I always mess it up, but I think I'm gonna keep it here because I really don't ever think about it. But I did like this story you follow. I think it's 2 different timelines of people on the Amalfi coast, and the one timeline, they're kind of, I don't know the right term and I can't remember it, but like magic, like they can control the water. So you're following them, and I think it's in the 1800s that timeline is, and so that was really interesting because you're kind of learning the history of the I cannot say it, the Amalfi coast and the curse. And then in the present, you're following our main girl, and she is into diving for treasure, and I really liked that. But you're following them and kind of how the past affects the present, and I did really like this book. I liked learning the fictional history of this curse and learning about the shipwrecks and everything, because I really don't think about it, but looking back on this book, all I have is positive memories. I didn't really connect too deeply with the romance, and there were parts of this and I was like, what the heck, but I still really enjoyed it. The Academy. I also kind of think this is bumped up to a 5-star. I didn't originally give it 5, but I kind of think it is definitely deserving of that. There was so much going on at this school and so many characters that were flawed, didn't always make the right decisions, but also that had so much depth to them. And this is a series I cannot wait to continue. It's one of those that I didn't really feel like it needed a sequel. Easily could have been a standalone, but there are just too many open-ended things to it not be a series, you know? So I don't really know how it's gonna go on from here, but whatever, I'm chill with it because I loved it. Heck yeah. This is one, again, kind of with, I'll put them at the beginning, I always do this. This is one that's like borderline life altering, but it's hard for just like a romance book to alter my life, I guess. But this was perfection, like the definition of perfection. This book had everything I could ever want and more. A plot balance, side characters I felt invested in, a dog, a love declaration that made me cry, grief struggles, just emotional struggles, just all the things. A small town, Gilmore Girls vibes, the holidays. The one word to describe this would be perfect. It was a slow burn. I haven't decided how I feel about that yet in general, but I loved it in this, and it was 500 pages, but I could read 500 more, and I am begging the author Julia Olivia to make this a series. Probably my second favorite romance of the year, just after Say You'll Remember Me, and that is not an easy thing to do, to follow that book up. This was fine. I read this because I was going to the movie for my birthday, and I had already owned the book from when I bought it back in freaking whenever this came out, probably. So that's why I read it, but it was fine. It was fine, nothing crazy. The movie was, again, fine, nothing crazy. The highlight of the movie is Role Model's song at the beginning. I love Role Model. I don't really have much to say. It was fine. I'm putting this one in yikes. It was just not, it was not it. I mean, it's honestly borderline, why did I do this to myself? This is one of those books that I forced myself to read because it's a seasonal read. The season was ending. I did not want to carry it over on my physical TBR another year, which this one I bought this year, so like whatever. But yeah, this is just cringy. I did not care about this at all. Honestly, either one of these, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and put it in yikes because I did finish the book. I didn't care. I was just excited about this because the main guy, he works at a coffee shop and like bakes and stuff, and that's just really cute, but we barely got any of that, so I was disappointed about that, and just the main girl was really annoying. I have nothing else to say. Dark Matter, this is gonna go in top read of the year. This was such a beautiful story, and I loved it because it was this like sci-fi written by a man book, which, like, not to diss on a man writing a book, but it's just like, it's crazy to me that a man can write this level of romantic connection. I loved it so much. The romance in this was beautiful. I loved it because there's so many life lessons within this book about like your priorities in life and, you know, making sure that your priorities are straight, basically. This book was shocking. It completely shocked me in so many different ways. It was just crazy to me that Blake Crouch could make you connect so deeply with a plot and characters in just this 300 pages. I'm putting this in meh as frick. I finished this like a couple days ago and I have not thought about it at all since. It was fine, and again, one of those seasonal reads I just wanted to get off my TBR. The book I forgot about I'm gonna put this in Great Grand Old Time. Maybe my favorite thriller of the year, honestly, so you gotta do that. I loved the way this was told, the podcast setting, and how this was more like a murder mystery and not like a scary thriller. I have no notes. Honestly, I listened to this on audiobook and I'd highly recommend because it's in the podcast chapters, it's actually like you're listening to a podcast. Like there's sound effects. It's super well done. I was definitely caught off guard with the plot twist, and this kind of felt also like a literary fiction mixed with a thriller, and I really like that mix. Like I love a romance, mystery, lit fic mix. So if you have any recs, please let me know. I think this is the final list. Really not mad about this, honestly. I think most of the books are up here. I did do a lot of rereads, which I really liked that. I'm really happy about this. 4 life-altering books, and then all of these. Like, what? Only 3 down there. Beautiful. I love it. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Please, literally, I'm begging, let me know your life-altering books from this year down below because I am on the hunt for more. I need more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace. Happy New Year, guys. I am so excited to do this again for another year. So I'm wishing you all an amazing 2026.